The cafe exuded warmth, the soft hum of conversation blending with the gentle clinking of cups. As Elon entered, a quiet ripple spread through the room. Patrons glanced momentarily, then returned to their conversations. The staff, however, were more observant. Their gazes lingered, assessing the unfamiliar man in worn-out clothes. He moved cautiously to an empty table near the window, aware of every step he took. A waitress, her apron neatly pressed, approached hesitantly. "Can I get you something?" she asked, her tone polite but tinged with hesitation. "Yes," Elon replied calmly. "A seat for one." The waitress glanced toward the counter, where the cafe manager stood watching closely. Her smile faltered slightly. "We're quite busy today," she said quickly, her eyes darting toward the many empty tables. Elon said nothing, letting the moment stretch into an uncomfortable silence. Across the room, a young barista named Lila noticed the exchange. She had been working at the cafe for a few months, saving for art school. There was something in the man's posture, an authenticity that felt genuine rather than desperate. "I can take him," Lila offered softly, stepping forward before the waitress could refuse. The cafe fell momentarily quiet. The manager frowned, but didn't intervene. Elon gave Lila a small nod as she led him to a corner table. It wasn't the best spot, but it was a seat. He appreciated the gesture. "Thank you," he said sincerely. Lila gave a reassuring smile. "Take your time," she said, ignoring the subtle whispers starting around the room. Elon sat quietly, observing the cafe. Conversations buzzed around him, some curious, others dismissive. Staff occasionally exchanged glances, the tension palpable. One barista whispered to another, "Why is he even here?" Another muttered, "Just another drifter." Elon absorbed it all without reaction. He noted the small moments, how the hostess avoided looking at him, how the cafe manager occasionally glanced his way with disapproval. Every interaction painted a picture of societal judgment based solely on appearance. When Lila returned with his order, Elon chose something simple, tea and a croissant. "Anything else?" she asked, her tone gentle but surprised. "No, this is perfect," he replied. Lila didn't press further. She returned to her duties, leaving Elon to ponder the reactions unfolding around him. As he ate, he noticed Lila's smooth navigation between tables. She handled demanding customers with grace, her patience unshaken despite subtle snide remarks. At one point, a man at a nearby table leaned in toward his companion. "What's with the charity act?" he said, gesturing subtly toward Elon. "Why waste time on him?" Lila's face flushed slightly, but she remained composed. "I believe everyone deserves respect," she replied firmly. Elon watched intently, impressed by her courage. Standing up for someone society deemed insignificant wasn't easy, especially in a setting like this. As Lila cleared his table, she paused briefly. "Is everything all right?" she asked softly. "Yes," Elon said, meeting her gaze. "Thank you for your kindness." Her expression softened. "It's nothing," she said quietly before moving on. The cafe remained tense, but Elon felt a quiet sense of clarity. The experiment was revealing more than expected, and the next phase would deepen the experience. As he finished his tea, Elon stood slowly, drawing the attention of everyone present. Lila, mid-conversation with another customer, glanced toward him with curiosity. The manager approached briskly, his usual authoritative tone more subdued. "Sir," the manager began, his voice clipped, "if you're done, I'll have to ask you to leave." Elon raised a hand, halting him gently. "I'll leave soon," he said calmly. "But first, I need to share something." The room quieted. Eyes turned toward him, expressions shifting from irritation to intrigue. Elon removed the scruffy wig, revealing his familiar face. A gasp rippled through the cafe as patrons whispered in disbelief. "Yes," Elon said, letting the moment settle before speaking again. "It's me. I came here not as the man you know," he continued, "but as someone you wouldn't glance at twice. I wanted to see how people treat those they believe are beneath them." The room grew eerily silent, the weight of his words sinking in. "I saw judgment, whispers, disdain, all because of how I appeared," he said, his voice steady but tinged with disappointment. "But one person, just one, treated me with genuine kindness." His eyes found Lila's. "Lila, you showed empathy when it would have been easier to look away." Lila stepped forward hesitantly, her hands trembling slightly. "I was just doing my job," she said softly. "No." Elon shook his head gently. "You went beyond that. You saw me for who I was, not what I appeared to be. The cafe patrons exchanged uneasy glances. Some looked down. Others shifted uncomfortably. Elon turned back to the room. To those who judged me tonight, remember this. Appearances are deceptive. How you treat others reveals who you truly are. Reaching into his pocket, Elon handed Lila a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note and a check. She opened it carefully, her breath catching as she read the note aloud. Lila, thank you for your kindness. Use this to pursue your dreams. Art school, your own gallery, whatever you envision. The world needs more people like you. Tears streamed down her face as she lowered the note. The check inside was for $50,000. The cafe erupted in hushed gasps and whispers. Elon turned to the manager. And for this place, consider this a reminder to create a culture of respect for everyone who walks through your doors. The manager, visibly flustered, nodded. The cafe remained silent long after Elon Musk left. Patrons who had once whispered cruel remarks now sat in thoughtful silence. Some avoided eye contact, while others exchanged quiet apologies. Lila folded the note and tucked it into her apron pocket, her heart filled with a profound sense of gratitude. The lesson, she knew, was worth more than the money. Outside, the world hummed on, but to Lila, the experience had forever changed her perspective. Elon's simple act of kindness had left an indelible mark, not just on her, but on everyone who witnessed it. News of Elon Musk's experiment quickly spread. Social media buzzed with discussions, and headlines drew millions into a conversation about judgment, empathy, and the power of human connections. Stories of Lila's actions sparked admiration and reflection worldwide. Months later, Lila enrolled in art school, supported by the funds Elon had given her. But her journey didn't stop there. She began advocating for inclusivity and kindness in the arts, inspiring countless others to view people through a lens of understanding, not assumption. Elon, in an interview reflecting on the experiment, spoke about the importance of small, everyday actions. Kindness, he said, is a currency that never loses its value. And in a world where appearances often dictate perceptions, it's the quiet acts that create the greatest impact. The cafe, too, saw change. The management implemented new policies to foster empathy and inclusivity. The legacy of that evening lingered, a reminder that beneath every surface lies a story worth listening to. As weeks passed, the ripple effect of Elon Musk's experiment continued to spread. The Copper Elm saw a gradual shift in its atmosphere, a shift that was both subtle and profound. Patrons, once dismissive or condescending, began to approach dining with a renewed sense of respect and understanding. Conversations turned more thoughtful, and the staff became more attuned to the needs of every guest, regardless of their appearance or background. Sophia, buoyed by her newfound confidence and the support from her peers, excelled in her culinary studies. She became a voice for change, advocating for inclusive practices within the hospitality industry. Her journey wasn't just about pursuing her dreams. It was about shaping a more compassionate and empathetic environment for future generations of chefs and servers. Meanwhile, Elon continued to watch from a distance, occasionally checking in on the restaurant's progress. Though he maintained a low profile, his influence lingered. In interviews and conversations, the experiment became a touchstone for discussions on the importance of empathy and the dangers of superficial judgments. One evening, while visiting a different city, Elon entered a local cafe unnoticed. The barista serving him had no idea who he was until someone recognized his name from a conversation nearby. Despite the momentary shock, the barista, a young woman named Mia, treated him no differently than she would any other customer. They chatted for a few minutes about sustainability and innovation, exchanging ideas that sparked his curiosity. Afterwards, Elon left her a simple note: "Your kindness is the real innovation." It was a reminder of the power of everyday interactions, moments where understanding and compassion could shape the world in ways even the most ambitious ventures couldn't. Elon's experiment had shifted gears, moving beyond a one-time act into a larger, ongoing mission. He began supporting initiatives that promoted empathy and inclusivity, investing in projects that encouraged meaningful connections across social and economic boundaries. His influence, once defined by technological breakthroughs, was now extending into the realm of social transformation. The Copper Elm continued to evolve, becoming a beacon for hospitality redefined. Other restaurants and businesses began reaching out for guidance on how to cultivate similar environments. Sophia's story became a model for others to follow. Proof that small, Deliberate acts of kindness could inspire monumental change. In reflecting on his journey, Elon often reminded people that change starts with understanding. And understanding is born from recognizing the shared humanity that connects us all. His experiment had not only reshaped perceptions, but had ignited a movement, one rooted in empathy, compassion, and the courage to challenge societal norms. As years passed, the memory of that transformative evening at the Copper Elm remained vivid. It became a symbol of possibility, a testament to how one act of vulnerability could catalyze a cultural shift toward a more inclusive and compassionate world. The legacy of Elon Musk's experiment became more than a mere moment in time. It became a movement, an ongoing dialogue about the importance of empathy in everyday life. Stories of similar experiences began to surface across the globe, echoing Sophia's sentiment that kindness isn't reserved for extraordinary circumstances, but can be found in the ordinary, everyday interactions we share with one another. In cities far and wide, people took notice. Business leaders, educators, and communities started incorporating values of empathy and inclusivity into their practices. Schools created programs that taught students to recognize and appreciate diversity, and corporate initiatives sought to foster more supportive workplace environments. Restaurants and cafes followed the Copper Elm's example, establishing safe spaces where every customer felt valued, regardless of their background. Sophia's life, now shaped by her passion for hospitality and advocacy, flourished beyond her wildest dreams. With her culinary education completed, she opened a small bistro that celebrated community, kindness, and sustainability. The bistro quickly gained a reputation for its welcoming atmosphere and heartfelt service, becoming a hub where people could gather, share stories, and forge connections across differences. Elon's quiet involvement in social initiatives continued behind the scenes. While the media spotlight faded, his commitment to making a difference never waned. He established foundations focused on promoting mental health awareness, supporting marginalized communities, and advocating for equal opportunities in education. His belief was that through empathy, innovation could be reimagined, not just as technology, but as a catalyst for societal healing and progress. One day, years later, Elon was invited to speak at a conference on the future of social responsibility. Standing before a diverse audience of young leaders and seasoned professionals, he reflected on his experiment at the Copper Elm. He spoke about the transformative power of empathy, about how simple acts of kindness could ripple through society, creating a more interconnected world. Empathy is the foundation for change, Elon said. It's the force that bridges divides, challenges biases, and fosters understanding. And the most incredible part? It's available to everyone. You don't need power, wealth, or influence to practice empathy. You just need the willingness to step beyond judgment and connect with another human being. His words resonated deeply with the audience. Young activists were inspired to take his message into their communities, initiating projects aimed at combating inequality and promoting social cohesion. Professionals within various industries began to rethink how they approached leadership, integrating empathy into decision-making processes and fostering environments where collaboration could thrive. Elon's experiment had ignited a ripple effect that transcended borders, impacting lives in ways he had never imagined. It became a reminder that even in the face of vast challenges, small acts of empathy had the power to spark monumental change. And through those acts, humanity could build a more inclusive, compassionate, and interconnected world, one interaction at a time. Years later, as Elon reflected on the journey, he understood that his experiment wasn't about testing humanity. It was about affirming it. The true lesson wasn't just how people treated him, but how they responded when faced with the opportunity to choose kindness over judgment, understanding over fear, and connection over division. And in that realization, a deeper truth emerged. We are all capable of fostering change, one thoughtful interaction at a time. Elon's journey through his experiment had shown him not only the capacity for both kindness and cruelty, but also the potential for transformation within individuals and institutions. As the years passed, stories began to surface from other participants who had undergone similar experiences, each sharing their own unique insights into how empathy reshaped their perspectives. Sophia's bistro continued to thrive, but what started as a small business soon became a model for others to emulate. The ripple effect of her actions inspired not just chefs and restaurateurs, but community leaders and policymakers who saw firsthand how meaningful interactions could create systemic change. Cities established community programs named in honor of Sophia's kindness, and her bistro became a gathering place for initiatives dedicated to inclusivity and social justice. Elon, though no longer in the spotlight of the media, remained quietly involved in numerous initiatives that promoted human welfare. He supported grassroots organizations working to empower disadvantaged communities, fostered dialogues on ethics and technology, and encouraged conversations about sustainability. His belief was simple: empathy isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. As more people embraced these ideas, a cultural shift began to emerge. Public spaces, online platforms, and even boardrooms reflected a newfound respect for human dignity. Conversations about mental health, diversity, and inclusion were no longer relegated to niche discussions. They became the foundation of policies and actions that shaped society. Meanwhile, the Copper Elm continued its evolution. Over the years, its management incorporated regular training sessions for staff focused on emotional intelligence, de-escalation tactics, and understanding unconscious biases. They held workshops on how to create welcoming environments, ensuring that no customer ever felt invisible or dismissed. And as the restaurant flourished, so too did its reputation as a place where people felt seen, heard, and valued, not just as patrons, but as human beings. Sophia's story became a symbol of what it means to act with empathy in the face of judgment, a beacon that reminded people that small acts of compassion have lasting effects. Her bistro was more than just a place to eat. It became a sanctuary of understanding, a space where conversations flowed freely and hearts connected through shared experiences. Elon, reflecting once again on his experiment, saw that the true power of empathy was not in the outcome itself, but in the transformation it inspired. It wasn't about the recognition or the applause, but the ripple of change that extended beyond the immediate moment. People were awakening to the fact that while systems and structures could influence behavior, it was the personal, human connections that truly had the power to heal and uplift. In the quiet corners of society, empathy became a movement, a unifying force that reminded everyone that behind every action, every interaction, there was a shared humanity that connected us all. And in that shared understanding, a new chapter was written, a story of a world where kindness reshaped the future. Elon Musk sat quietly in his office, an oasis of calm in the midst of relentless innovation and ambition. The idea had come to him during a late-night conversation with a colleague about societal perceptions. What if he could step away from his identity as a billionaire and be seen as just another person? The thought tugged at him, turning into a compelling challenge. Days later, on a chilly afternoon, he finalized the plan. His disguise was simple: second-hand clothes from a local thrift shop, worn sneakers, and a scruffy wig. A makeup artist added subtle touches to erase the features that had once been plastered across media outlets. The transformation was striking. Elon Musk, the visionary entrepreneur, now blended seamlessly into the crowd. He chose his destination thoughtfully, a quaint cafe in the heart of Santa Fe, New Mexico, known for its welcoming atmosphere. It was the perfect backdrop to test his theory. This wasn't about deception, but understanding. Would people look past the surface, or would appearances dictate their actions? Before leaving, Elon took one last look in the mirror. The unfamiliar reflection seemed surreal. For the first time in years, he felt invisible, not the persona, but the person beneath it. With a deep breath, he stepped into the world, his pulse quickening more than he anticipated. The ride to the cafe was uneventful, the streets bustling with life. But for Elon, each passing second felt charged with anticipation. Approaching the cafe, he paused for a moment before pushing open the door. His experiment was underway.